The quarterback of the 49ers, Colin Kaepernick, decided to do a protest by refusing to stand for the national anthem. And the backlash was swift, and it was harsh. So first, let's listen to why he did it in his own words.
I mean, ultimately, it's to bring awareness and make people, realize what's really going on in this country. There are a lot of things that are going on that are unjust, people aren't being held accountable for, and that's something that needs to change. That's something that, this country stands for freedom, liberty, justice for all, and it's not happening for all right now.
Is this something that's evolved as a philosophy in your mind, and how has this kind of progressed that you make a stand like this?
It's something that I've seen, I've felt, wasn't quite sure how to deal with originally, and it is something that's evolved. It's something as I've gained more knowledge about, what's going on in this country in the past, what's going on currently. These aren't new situations. This isn't new ground. It's things that have gone on in this country for years and years and have never been addressed, and they need to be.
Colin, will you continue, Colin, to sit? Will you continue to sit?
Yes, I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. To me, this is something that has to change, and when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand. There's a lot of things that need to change. One specifically is police brutality. There's people being murdered unjustly and not being held accountable. Cops are getting paid leave for killing people. That's not right. That's not right by anyone's standards.
Colin, so many people see the flag as kind of a symbol of military. How do you view it, and what do you say to those people?
I have great respect for men and women that have fought for this country. I have family, I have friends that have gone and fought for this country. And they fight for freedom. They fight for the people. They fight for liberty and justice for everyone. And that's not happening. I mean, people are dying in vain because this country isn't holding their end of the bargain up as far as, giving freedom and justice and liberty to everybody. It's something that's not happening. And I've seen videos, I've seen circumstances where men and women that have been in the military have come back and been treated unjustly by the country they fought for and have been murdered by the country they fought for on our land. That's not right. I don't understand how it's the wrong way. To me, this is a freedom that we're allowed in this country. And going back to the military thing, it's a freedom that men and women that have fought for this country have given me this opportunity by the contributions they have made. So I don't see it as going about it the wrong way. This is something that has to be said. It has to be brought to the forefront of everyone's attention. And when that's done, I think people can realize what the situation is and then really affect change.
You think that it seems as sort of an indictment against police?
There is police brutality.
Yeah.
People of color have been targeted by police. So that's a large part of it. And they're government officials. They're put in place by the government. So, that's something that this country has to change. There's things we can do to, hold them more accountable, make those standards higher. You have people that practice law and are lawyers and go to school for 8 years, but you can become a cop in 6 months and don't have to have the same amount of training as a cosmetologist. That's insane. I mean, someone that's holding a curling iron has more education and more training than people that have a gun and are going out on the street to protect us.
The right wing collectively lost their shit over this. There are people, obviously loathsome racists, who decided they were going to call him the N-word on Twitter. That's pretty sad. There are people who burned his jersey because they got all emotional over it. And just this general sense of rage overtook people on the far right. And what I find fascinating about this is the anti-PC crowd are suddenly expressing PC outrage. The anti-social justice warrior group, suddenly they're acting quite social justice warrior-y. So I've maintained from the beginning, this is not something that I don't know if anybody else talks about it, but there is such a thing as a right-wing social justice warrior and somebody who's the right-wing PC police. So I'll just give you another example here as a side point, but we often talk about Donald Trump. I find it hilarious when people act like, oh, he's going to come in there and he's going to slay all the fake outrage because he really cares about the Constitution and free expression. Except he sued Bill Maher over a joke that hurt his feelings. He sued The Onion over a satire article about him. And he said we need to, quote, open up the libel laws to be able to sue the media when they write articles that are against us. The idea that he's against the PC police and he's against the social justice warriors is absurd. He is a social justice warrior. He banned over a dozen media outlets from even covering his campaign because they didn't do fawning coverage over him. This is right-wing PC outrage. Same thing here with this shit. You don't even need to agree with the protest to say, yeah, you should be allowed to express it, and we should all not try to fucking, well, there must be punishment for this. We have to go after him. We have to ban him from sitting during the national anthem. He needs to get the fuck up. What happened? I thought you guys were, you guys are usually the crowd that goes directly to, get the fuck over it. Oh, are your feelings hurt, Mr. Person on a college campus? Do you need a safe space? Is that what you need? Do you need a trigger warning? Have I microaggressed you? Well, now I'm going to say all that to these idiots. Do you need a safe space from somebody not standing for the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance? Is that what you need? What about, do you feel like there's been a microaggression against you? Is that the problem here? Are you going to be okay? Do you need a trigger warning before somebody decides not to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Is that what you need? So the roles here flip. Well, I want to be clear and I want to be on the record. My position has not flipped in either instance. When there are left-wing college campus people who try to censor people and get all outraged over nothing because they're emotional little babies, I say, get the fuck over it. And I'm going to say that now to the right-wingers. Get the fuck over it. Stop being little PC right-wing bitches. That's what you are. And understand, like, people forget history so quickly. Do you have any idea the amount of hate that was against Muhammad Ali when Muhammad Ali said, you know what? Fuck your Vietnam War. I'm not going to Vietnam. What the fuck am I going to go over there and kill Viet Cong? They never fucking called me nigger. They never fucking told me I can't sit at that diner. They never told me that I don't have equal rights in this country. You know who told me that? White racists in the South. That's who fucking told me that. Now you want me to go and fight for freedom when we don't even have fucking freedom here? Is that what you want me to do? Is that what you want me to do? Well, fuck that. And then, oh, of course, the PC right-wing bitches in the country. He doesn't love the country because he says he doesn't want to fight in Vietnam and he's not going to go and he's going to be a conscientious objector and we need to make him go and fight. Even though he doesn't want to, make him go and fight. Again, what happened? I thought you guys were against people who get all emotional and outraged over shit. So he stood up and he said, fuck that, I'm not going to Vietnam. And this is on a much smaller level. All he's saying is I'm not going to stand for the pledge because there's a lot of fucked up shit going on right now and we need to address it. There are people who we think are oppressed and we need to address it. And until we address it, I'm not fucking standing. So, I mean, what a little step to take to try to say, let's fix something. People go, how dare you try to fix something? Stand and bow before your great country, sir. And there's a creepy angle to that as well. Look, I'm going to say something here that most people probably are not going to agree with, but I don't give a fuck. I'm done with the national anthem at all sporting events. Why? Why does that happen? Fucking athletes, professional athletes, you know what they're doing? Their job. And what if I went to Bob the accountant and said, hey man, look, we're going to do the national anthem at the beginning of every single day, and I need you to stand the fuck up and worship your country in this creepy way. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for patriotism. I think I'm more patriotic than most people because I actually try to fight for what the idea of America is supposed to be. But when you start doing, like, just flip the context and make it any other country, and you'll see how creepy it is. Like, you know, if for whatever reason, if you're watching a soccer game in Iran and they're doing their national anthem beforehand, or you're in Saudi Arabia, or you're anywhere, or former Soviet Union, current day Russia, and everybody gets all like creepy with these stone cold looks on their faces, and they're just standing there awash in unearned pride for their country before they watch people fucking kick a ball around a field, you go, oh, this is a little weird and tribal, isn't it? You know, so look, don't get me wrong, I don't, like, I'm sure that they're not going to implement my idea of not having it, and I'm not going to go nuts here and you must do my way. But let's just acknowledge that, and I say the same thing in schools too. A little creepy that at the beginning of the day it's like, all right, everybody, let's stand, let's be uncritical, and do an unthinking pledge of allegiance to, obviously national anthem, pledge of allegiance different, but let's pledge allegiance to the country, because obviously if we don't pledge allegiance, the default assumption will be that you are indeed not loyal to the country, and maybe we'll put you in a political prisoner camp, okay? Obviously they don't say all that, but there's a weird implication there of like, are you with us? Did you say the fucking pledge? Are you with us? Did you say the national anthem? Well, you didn't say the national anthem. What the fuck's going on here? Do you not love America? Should we deport you? Should we get you the fuck out of here? What's going on? I think you're some kind of criminal if you don't, do the national anthem. Why aren't you doing the national anthem? Oh, now you're saying you don't fucking agree with everything the country's ever done, and now you say you think there's still issues we need to address. How fucking unreasonable are you? No, that's actually the most reasonable thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. And the final point here is, many of the people, if not all of the people, to be honest, who are angry at Colin Kaepernick for doing this, the outrage that they're expressing over this, they didn't express 1/10 the outrage over, for example, Philando Castile. Remember him? The guy who was reaching for his license after the police officer told him to reach for his license. And he said, he's going for a gun! And then the cop shot him and killed him. They didn't express outrage over that. They're more outraged over somebody not standing for the national anthem than an innocent person being shot and killed when they're reaching for their fucking license. This is a guy who literally worked at a school and knew all the kids' names and gave him fist bumps in the morning. He was part of the community. People loved him. People loved him. Spotless record. Spotless record. They go, mum's the word on that. Maybe he had it coming. I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to shut the fuck up. No outrage expressed over that. No outrage expressed over Walter Scott. Remember Walter Scott? Literally running away from an officer. Running away. The officer takes out a gun, fucking shoots him, kills him, walks up and plants some shit on him. Where was the outrage over that? No, they saved up their outrage because somebody didn't stand up for the national anthem. That's what really gets their fucking panties in a bunch. But murdering people? No, I mean, if a cop does it, he's got a badge. I mean, he must have had it coming on some level, am I right? And Tamir Rice. I mean, Tamir Rice is another classic example. This is a fucking 12-year-old playing with a toy gun. The cop rolls up, shoots him in under a second. Now, later we found out, and we covered the stories on that, that cop had deep, deep psychological problems. Like, they were at a shooting range with other officers doing a test, and the guy broke down crying in the middle of shooting. And they're like, what happened? He's like, my girlfriend broke up with me. Unstable dude, an unstable dude who's riding around with a badge and a gun. And then you have a 12-year-old boy shot and killed when using a toy gun. Do you have any idea how often I used toy guns when I was a kid? Running around outside? Yeah, running around outside. And back then, some of the toy guns we didn't even have the orange tips on them. Eventually, there was a law where they said, put an orange tip on them so people know that it's not real. I ran around with guns that didn't have the orange tip on them, toy guns, when I was a kid. I never got shot. The cop never even fucking said shit to me. Never, no issue ever. This, because he's a black kid from a poor community, well, then you roll up and shoot him in under a second, and no consequences. Where the fuck is the outrage over that from this crowd? Fucking crickets. Fucking crickets. But, oh, you didn't stand for the national anthem. Now I'm going to call you a nigger. Now I'm going to burn your jersey. Further proving your point that we need reform in the country. So, and he's being clear. He's saying, look, if we address this in a substantive way, I'm going to stand for the pledge again. Has that a more reasonable thing ever been said? No. So, for me, what I think are the answers, or some of the answers, I've said it a million times, but body cameras on the police. Now, it's not going to stop everything. Sometimes there are hideous acts done by the cops, and then, you have it on tape, but for whatever reason, there isn't an indictment, there isn't a conviction. The case in Staten Island is one example of that. But understand that wearing the body cameras to begin with nips a lot of problems in the bud because studies show cops are less likely to be unnecessarily aggressive when they have the cameras on them. Reports of abuse drop tremendously when they have the body cameras on them. So just the existence of it is a positive thing. So I'd say body cameras for all cops all around the country, that's a great step in the right direction. If you end the drug war, which disproportionately targets minority communities, that would be fantastic because you're basically giving the cops license to occupy and license to, disregard the Fourth Amendment when you say, I'm going to come after you for fucking substances. There's no difference there than going after people for fucking alcohol. You drink, so now I'm going to fucking lock you up because you drink. That's preposterous, right? Why is it not preposterous with marijuana and other drugs? So you end the drug war, you legalize, tax, and regulate drugs, and then also you redo the training, which is something he hinted at there. How there's not enough training for cops, and actually the more important point is they are not trained in de-escalation tactics. So that's the point, is you have to make it so that they de-escalate and they don't always escalate to a conflict. Now, I get it. Being a cop is a hard job, and I have respect for that. And most cops are good people, for sure. But to do a protest to raise awareness about real issues facing the country and how we need to reform our laws to fix those issues, that's not un-American. That is pretty much the definition of being American. And you could argue his patriotism is much more than the patriotism of the idiots who are calling him nigger and burning his fucking jersey. So I actually agree completely with Colin Kaepernick here. And if you don't, you can get the fuck over it and stop being a little PC bitch.